Is it recording?
Yeah, it's recording. I'll leave that in, don't worry.
Oh, thank you. Hi, and welcome to the Beer Nakes podcast. My name is Jessica, and I'm here with my husband, Ryan.
Hello.
And today we're reading Luke chapter 14.
Yes.
All right. Oh, and I'm going to start us off.
Mm-hmm. And
All
you're
right,
gonna read
let's
like the whole
begin.
chapter.
Pretty much. I wanted to read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like reading. One Sabbath, when he went to dine at the house of a ruler of the Pharisees, they were watching him carefully. And behold, there was a man before him who had dropsy. And Jesus responded to the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not? But they remained silent. Then he took him and healed him and sent him away. And he said to them, Which of you, having a son or an ox that has fallen into a well on a Sabbath day, will not immediately pull him out? And they could not reply to these things. Now he told a parable to those who were invited, when he noticed how they chose the places of honor, saying to them, When you are invited by someone to a wedding feast, do not sit down in a place of honor, lest someone more distinguished than you be invited by him. And he who invited you both will come and say to you, Give your place to this person, and then you will begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit in the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, My friend, move up higher. Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. He said also to the man who had invited him, When you give a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends or your brothers, or your relatives or rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the just. When one of those who reclined at the table with him heard these things, he said to him, Blessed is everyone who will eat bread in the kingdom of God. But he said to him, A man once gave a great banquet and invited many. And at the time for the banquet he sent his servant to say to those who had been invited, Come, for everything is now ready. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said to him, I have bought a field, and I must go out and see it. Please have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I go to examine them. Please have me excused. And another said, I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come. So the servant came and reported these things to his master. Then the master of the house became angry and said to his servant, Go out quickly to the streets and the lanes of the city, and bring in the poor and crippled and blind and lame. And the servant said, Sir, what you commanded has been done, and still there is room. And the master said to the servant, Go out to the highways and hedges and compel people to come in, that my house may be filled. For I tell you, none of those men who are invited shall taste my banquet.
Now large crowds were going along with him, and he turned and said to them, If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost, to see if he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who are watching it will begin to ridicule him, saying, The person began to build, and he was not able to finish. Or what king, when he sets out to meet another king in battle, will not first sit down and consider whether he will be strong enough with 10,000 men to face the one coming against him with 20,000? Otherwise, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and requests terms of peace. So then none of you can be my disciple, who does not give up all of his own possessions. Therefore salt is good, but if even salt has become tasteless, with what will it be seasoned? It is useless either for the soil or for the manure pile, so throw it out. The one who has ears to hear, let them hear.
Nice. Short chapter, but a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts
As
about
they
it?
all are.
Yeah. Of course. There's no lame chapters.
Yeah, again, we just see this pattern of, Why is everyone so upset that he's doing good on a Sabbath? You know,
Yeah.
it seems so odd to me. Um, Especially when he's like, if your son fell into a well or your ox fell into a well, I mean, you would get all your buddies and go try to save them, get it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was going to cost you something, or if it was someone you loved, but to someone that they weren't related to or didn't care about, they, looked down on Jesus for healing him. It's
Yeah.
like, really?
Well, it just, again, he's pointing out their hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like there's more to this parable of the guests
The
and
great
the
banquet.
dinner, yeah, than I quite understand. But are the people that were first invited supposed to be the the Jews?
I mean, that's what
Is
I assume when I hear
is
that.
that the picture that it's kind of making, where it's like, oh, you were invited, but then they all have excuses or reasons to not show up, and so
Yeah.
they
Well, I
go out
mean,
and
I
tell.
I read this the other day, like on
Mm-hmm.
audiobook or the audio Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, I guess, just what I had assumed, but I didn't go into it and actually look and research it. But I mean, it makes sense in that context, you know.
Yeah, because he does the parables or the parable there, and then he implores you, obviously, that if you're going to be his disciple, what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is obviously something everyone struggles with who calls themselves a Christian,
Well, yeah.
because we constantly want to do our own thing, even though we say something else.
I know,
So,
right? Why do we always do that?
uh,
It's like a
I think
daily
it's
thing.
part of being a human, yeah, or
And
cursed
it
human.
like creeps up on you. I don't know, maybe it's a bad habit, but it's like I realize I have to regularly consciously stop myself throughout the day and just think to myself like it's literally it's not about what I want, you know? Like I'm not living for myself. I'm living for Christ. Like this is his will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just I don't know, it's such a discipline that you have to develop.
Yeah, well, it's something I think you have to strive for every day.
Mhm.
Like it's not natural. It's not.
It goes against the flesh
Yeah,
for sure.
it goes against everything that you want. You know. And another one that always gets me is where, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, and yes, even his own life, cannot be my disciple. That's verse 26. And I have a little footnote here, and it says, in comparison to his love for me. So that
Right.
hate there is not like
It's not
you
a
actually
commandment
hate
to hate your
you actually hate
family.
them. It's just you your love for Jesus and God should not be even comparable. Should be tenfold, 20-fold.
Right.
Your love for these other people in your life. And when you really think about that, it's really convicting sometimes. Especially like, you know, these are supposed to be, at least in our society, these are supposed to be, the people that you love
Mhm.
100%
Oh gosh,
over
yeah.
over your own life, right?
Right.
And yet they're they're supposed to be in the same category as your own life in comparison, like, to your love for Jesus.
Mhm. Can I bring something up?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing to be selfless and care about like your kids before yourself. I'm just coming at this from like a mother's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I see so many times on social media of mothers and women saying, "Oh, my children are the reason for living." And it's like,
I've also
I'm sorry,
seen.
but you cannot put them in that category. Like I get what they're trying to say, but it
Yeah.
comes dangerously close to idolizing your children, and that's
Well,
just
I've
not
even
good
seen a
for
step
them
further
or
where
for
they're
you.
like, "This is my religion," and they post a picture of
Oh,
their child.
I've never seen
I've
that.
seen that a couple times. Yeah, and the reality of it is that's misplaced.
It
That's
is.
you're creating an idol. You can create an idol out of your children, and society says that's a good thing. Like
Mhm.
that's why people have kids, right? Is so that they can have success and you can like almost live vicariously through them. And I'm curious if that's why, like, I don't know, with I don't know how much you want to get into that. But anyways, we'll just move on. But yeah, just
Well, it really does a disservice to your children if you are idolizing them.
it's a delusion too, because they're like, I don't know how to put this, but like every child's gonna grow up and do their own thing, right? And as a parent, part of your children's growing up is you're going to lose control of that child.
Mhm.
So in what way, and then when you're making an idol out of a child, you want to also have some sort of control over that child because
Ooh.
you have a margin of success, right?
Mhm.
So
So it's really,
it's kind
yeah,
of,
it's a
yeah,
selfish
and
pursuit.
it's very out of your hands too. And
But when you put God first, when you are living for
mhm.
Christ, you're actually able to love your children better, as you should,
Well, you should be
because you
showing,
realize they're people.
yeah, you should be
Mhm.
modeling your love of God to your kids,
Mhm.
because it also is bad the other way where the kid idolizes the parents.
That's not good either.
Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know, it's just constantly fighting against all these things. No one does it perfectly. No one, you know,
Mhm.
there are people that you could say objectively do it well and people who don't, but it's just kind of messy.
You know what Keegan, what part of Keegan's prayer tonight? It was
Hmm.
so cute. He's been praying like, God, help mama to teach me to love you. And I love that so much. It warms my mama heart
Yeah.
because that is essentially what my job is, you know?
Hmm.
Like, obviously, keep them alive, but
Feed
teach
them.
them to love the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy task. But yeah, you do it by modeling and by not telling your kids that, like, oh, you're
Well,
the reason that I'm alive. Like, I
and
see that so many times. Like, my children saved me. And it's like,
it's still hard though, because like even if you model well, sometimes there's still not that like um sometimes kids still aren't going to grasp that,
well, yeah.
or you know, like no matter how much you do, no matter how much like work you put into it, it's still all in God's hands,
Oh, yeah. It's
you know.
salvation's
So,
always a work of God.
well, yeah, and then their quality of life, it's like I remember, I forget who I was talking to, but they were telling me, is your like bar of success for your kids being like a doctor, they have a good income, they get married, they have kids, right? Or is your bar of success that they work at Wendy's, but they know the Lord? You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's which one of these things is more important? And obviously you hope for both, but you hope that they have
Well,
a
I just
full
hope
life.
that they faithfully serve God in any way that they're called.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to look
Well, yeah,
like.
and that's the thing. It's God's plan. It's not ours. So
Yeah.
whatever we concoct for them in our minds or push
I don't
them
know. It's
towards is
interesting
just
because I don't think I let myself go there.
mm,
Maybe I used to, but I never like imagine my kids' futures anymore. Cuz it's so like I've just realized it's so out of my control. Why even think about it? Like I help them have the tools that they need for their future, But I'm not like, oh, I wonder how many kids they're going to have or who they're going to marry. Like, it's not up to
Yeah.
me. Like, it's just pointless to do that in my mind.
I think a lot of people, it's fun
Yeah.
to probably
Well, I
think about
definitely
that.
used to do it. Let's be clear. But I try not to anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. It's just, I guess, just how you go about building your kids up. With
Mm-hmm.
what foundation are you putting under their feet?
Right.
Are you training them in the way they should go? Or
Are you
are
teaching
you
them where
telling
they
them
should
that
find their
if they
identity?
take an AP calculus class, everything will be okay?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's just so messy. I like it's a miracle that anything works out in parenting. That's all I know. Like I get upset and I don't model well, and then Jess is like, Ryan. I'm like, oh, but hopefully my kids aren't too scarred.
We're all
That's what my parents
sinners,
used to
Ryan.
say. My parents used to say, "You just make all your mistakes with your first one,
Oh,
and then
trust me, you have plenty more for
and
the
and
second
then and then
and
the
for the
second and
next
third one,
one.
you have a little more figured out." So we'll just go with that.
uh, it's all in God's hands.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Thank goodness, because
Oh,
if it was
yeah.
in my hands,
We'd be screwed.
yeah, yes,
Oh, my goodness. I love you, Ryan.
love you too.
Thank you for reading this chapter with me.
Hmm.
And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.